10th verse, the nakedness of your son's daughter or your daughter's daughter.
Okay, so your son's daughter. Now think about this. Who would even think of doing this kind of stuff? They must have seen it, where they were, and where they were going. Therefore, God is saying, you cannot do these things.
11th verse, the nakedness of your father's wife's daughter, begotten by your father. She is your sister.
Okay, 12.
You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's sister. She is near of kin to your father.
Okay, so that your father's sister, you do not get involved with her either because she is a relative.
You shall not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, for she is near of kin to your mother.
Same as the above.
14th, you shall not approach your father's brother's wife. She is your aunt.
And it's very specific here. It's going to all of these great specifics about what you can't do. And Jonathan, I would say that most people who are listening at this point are going to agree with all of these things thus far. Mm-hmm. These are things that we just should not be pursuing because they're not right. Next one.
15th. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife.
I mean, some of these things you're going, well, duh. Go ahead.
16. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your brother's wife. It is your brother's nakedness.
You know, and by saying that, it is your brother's nakedness, basically what it's saying is she belongs to him.
They're one.
Right. Just like the Genesis account stated.
17. You shall not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, nor shall you take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They are near of kin to her.
So again, you are looking at the relative thing, and God is being very specific and spreading this out and saying, these are things that you just should not be involved with.
18. Nor shall you take a woman as a rival to her sister to uncover her nakedness while the other is alive.
19.
Also, you shall not approach a woman to uncover her nakedness as long as she is in her customary impurity. Moreover, you shall not lie carnally with your neighbor's wife to defile yourself with her.
Okay, now it's out of the relations, the relatives, and now it's your neighbor's wife, and obviously that's adultery.
21. And you shall not let any of your descendants pass through the fire to Molech, nor shall you profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. Okay,
descendants passing through the fire to Molech. That was the ritual of sacrificing children to the god Molech.
Live children.
Right. So he's saying, you've seen this or you will see this. Don't do it.
22. You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination.
Okay, so now that's the verse. And that's the verse that's in the context of all of these other verses. And if you're going to say, okay, we're going to throw verse 22 away, then I submit to you, you need to throw the rest of those verses away as well.
23. Nor shall you mate with any animal to defile yourself with it, nor shall any woman stand before an animal to mate with it. It is perversion.
And again, you look at all of these verses in this chapter, and it is a self-contained guideline to moral behavior. Most of us look at this and say, well, that's common sense. Some of us have an issue with that one verse, verse 22. Okay, are you going to say that one doesn't count, but the rest of them do? Now, who gives you the right to choose? Because God has given us this as an overall approach to moral behavior. And, if any of those were undone in the New Testament, I could understand it. If you could find a statement to undo any of these, I would say, okay, Jesus said, here is the proper interpretation. You don't. Just, Jonathan, a quick quote from Jamieson, Fawcett, and Brown.
Leviticus 18:6. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him. Very great laxity prevailed amongst the Egyptians in their sentiments and practice about the conjugal relation, as they not only openly sanctioned marriages between brothers and sisters, but even between parents and children. Such alliances Moses wisely prohibited, and his law formed the basis upon which the marriage regulations of this and other Christian nations are chiefly founded.
So we've got this segment here in dealing with these verses in Leviticus, and again, it really comes down to being willing to take the things in the context that they were given rather than giving them the context that we want them to have. I think we need to really look at this clearly and be focused on that the context of the 18th chapter of Leviticus is unmistakable. It is a context that gives us a sense of clear-cut moral behavior. Most of it is spent on the admonition to not get involved in a sexual relationship with relatives. And we would look at that and say, well, of course you wouldn't do that. with animals. Well, of course you wouldn't do that. But we have a verse that talks about homosexuality. And now, what is our reaction to that? Well, I wouldn't do all of those other things, but there's an exception for that. Now, what is the exception? Why would the exception exist for one of those verses and not for the rest of them? That, I think, is one of the key questions that we have to take as we end this first hour and we begin to look into the second hour and get into more of a New Testament approach on all of this. You know, this is such a big issue, Jonathan, because our society today is very open to new things, to science, and there's nothing wrong with science, and to biology, and there's nothing wrong with biology. But do we take science and biology over commands of behavior? That's the question that we're going to really, hopefully, more closely examine in the second hour. Is marriage between one man and one woman? Think about it.